I just ate a fish and got stuck with the fish bones. I remembered the older generation saying that getting stuck with fish bones and drinking vinegar was effective, so I got up to get vinegar. If I fell down, it was time to travel. It was too hasty. Time to travel is time to travel. It's still time to tire through, and it's the world of One Piece King. Fortunately, I often watch serious movies from island countries and learn a little Japanese. It's really difficult to handle. handleFeilu novel network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. The weakness of the tire wearing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shihai, a small island, is surrounded by a small fishing village called Zewego Fishing Village. Our male protagonist, Moroz, was born 15 years ago in this world. Speaking of which, it's quite unexpected. In the previous life, Chen had a car, a house, and savings, but he didn't have many friends. Today was Chen's birthday, so he made a big meal to celebrate and had a good meal. Who would have thought that he was attacked by fish bones while eating fish? Chen was about to go to the kitchen to try vinegar, but in a hurry, his feet slipped and his head hit the table, and he was sent to the world of the Pirate King. When I first crossed over, I was still a baby with a mother named Beth and a father named Marshall. At first, I thought that there would be a standard system for travelers, but after more than a year of constant changes, I didn't see it. In the end, I became desperate. The strong in this world destroy the sky and the earth, and the weak find it difficult to protect themselves. So at the age of 5, I started exercising and later focused on practicing swordsmanship. After all, swordsmen are so handsome. This practice lasted for 10 years. Today, our male protagonist started exercising in a place far away from the village. He stood by the seaside and kept pulling and collecting his sword. The speed was getting faster and faster, and almost all he could see were remnants. Moreover, every time he drew his sword, he brought his sharp sword energy and shot it onto the sea, causing the sea to travel through a vacuum zone. After an hour of doing this, Chen put away his sword and murmured, "Still haven't broken through to the great sword hero. Every time, it's almost there." In the past decade, through my own exploration, I have awakened the aura of seeing, hearing, and armed colors, and have already entered the realm of swordsmanship. I only need one step to break through to become a great swordsman. Then I started exercising again, and in the afternoon, I felt like it was almost time. It was time to go back for dinner, otherwise my mom would have to talk about herself again. Suddenly, I heard, ding. The system is loaded. Time suddenly exploded in an instant. You're riding a horse in the system, do you still know how to come? Do you know how I've been living these past decade or so? I exercise every morning and night, afraid that someone with strong abilities will destroy me. Now that I have some strength, you come. What's the use of me? Tell me, what else do you have? System sweat. Epsilon, host, calm down, isn't it that I'm not very proficient at work just now? I'm a little late for a while, can I give you some compensation? He said. Chen heard compensation say, "It's been a while, it's been more than 10 years. When you come, my yellow cauliflower will be cold. Tell me what kind of compensation. If it's not good, I'll return it." The system said, "I have 2 functions. Summoning and drawing." Originally, as a beginner, the gift package could only give you 1 chance to summon, but to make up for my mistake, I will pay out of my own pocket to give you another chance to draw. When Chen heard the system say this, he just wanted to complain, but didn't expect there was still something delicious to take. He quickly said, "Okay, then I'll reluctantly forgive you." The system saw that the host was not angry and said, "Host, you are really beautiful and kind-hearted. In fact, I thought to myself. Fortunately, I was clever enough to just make up a reason and fool it. If the host knew that I had lost drinking with other systems and came so late, they would definitely mock me. Hee hee, I'm really smart. Shi Chen saw the system in a daze and thought to himself, this system can't be a nerd system, can it? So he said, let's start with the system and try my luck by drawing a lottery first. The system said, good host. Shi Chen saw a large roulette in front of him with a powerful awakening card and upgrade card, even the soul-slaying saber, as well as various martial arts and abilities, ranging from cultivation techniques to the 8-section brocade learned in college, with all kinds of miraculous elixirs and medicines. Suddenly, he saw that it was a ghost to do it again. After a while, the wheel began to rotate and the system said, ding. Congratulations to the host for drawing the psychic power. Upon hearing this, Shi Chen was pleasantly surprised and said, I knew I was the Emperor of Europe. It's really cool. The system looked at it in surprise and said, host, you have really good luck. Your memory is a very powerful ability, and the higher your spiritual power, the stronger your memory. I feel like I can perceive a larger range now, and even my aura have increased. It's really satisfying. Say to the system, use the summoning again as soon as possible. The system said, good host, ding. Congratulations to the host for summoning Kinmu Ken from Tokyo Gourmet World. Shi Chen said, I didn't expect it to be our little angel Jinmu. What does the system eat for this Jinmu? It shouldn't even eat people, right? The system said, don't worry about the host. The rules of the two worlds are different. Jinmu can eat the food of this world normally, and the stronger the creature, the more abilities it contains. Jinmu really becomes a snack here. Shi Chen said, that's good, otherwise I really can't accept eating people. Shi Chen has also killed some small pirates who came to the village to rob in recent years, but cannibalism is really unacceptable. Although it is not for oneself, it is also not acceptable. Shi Chen asked the system, what is the strength of Jinmu? The system said, the host can rest assured that summoning them is an enhanced version. This Jinmu has the strength of an elite general, and it also loads the basic situation of this world and dual color dominance. At the same time, there was a summoning formation around him, and then the white-haired Jinmu set out. Jinmu looked at Shi Chen and said, hello, are you the person I will be assisting in the future? Shi Chen looked at the little angel in front of him and said, hello, welcome to this world. From now on, we will be partners. Jinmu heard what Shi Chen said and said, we'll be partners from now on. Shi Chen said, you go home with me first. I will celebrate my birthday tomorrow and go out to sea with me the day after tomorrow. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. Plan to sail away. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After speaking, Jinmu followed Shi Chen back home. As soon as I opened the door, I heard my mother Beth say, is it time to come back? Shi Chen said, yes, Mom, I brought my friends back. Upon hearing that her son had brought his friend back, Beth quickly ran out of the kitchen and saw Jinmu surprised, saying, hello, hurry up and sit down. The meal will be ready soon. Auntie is cooking so delicious. You must eat more today. Jinmu was awkwardly embarrassed by Beth's enthusiasm. Seeing Jinmu's awkwardness, she quickly pulled her mother away and said, Mom, you can go cook. I'll talk to my friends for a while. Beth said, then you two can play for a while, and I'll be ready soon. After that, Beth went into the kitchen. After a while, Father Marshall returned and was very happy to see his son bringing his friends back. After a while, Beth prepared the meal and everyone sat together to eat. Due to her parents being too enthusiastic, Jinmu also spent the meal in embarrassment. The next day, as it was the birthday of the hour, everyone got up early in the morning and went to the beach to play. It wasn't until the afternoon that they returned home. In the evening, Beth's mother cooked a rich dinner. When he finished eating, he looked at his parents and said, Mom and Dad, I have something to tell you. The parents looked at their son's serious expression and suddenly seemed to have guessed something. Shi-chen said, "Dad, Mom, I'm going out to sea." Beth and Marshall looked into Time's eyes, and Marshall said, "Your mother and I actually guessed that you would go out to sea one day, but we didn't expect it to come so soon." Beth agreed, "Yes, we saw that you had defeated the pirates who invaded the village before, and we knew that one day would come." After speaking, my mother couldn't help but shed tears. It was time for me to hold her in my arms and say, "Mom, I will definitely come back to see you all." Mom came out of Shi-chen's arms and said, "I'll go tidy up. You guys go rest first." I lowered my head to tidy up the table. Dad quickly tidied up together and was ready to go up to help. Mom interrupted him and said, "You still have to go out to sea tomorrow, go rest early." Shi-chen looked at his busy parents and was ready to say something, but Jin-moo grabbed Shi-chen and shook his head. Shi-chen and Jin-moo returned to their room to rest. The next day, early in the morning, the family arrived at the dock. There was a ship that had been prepared for a long time. "If you want to tell me where the money came from, the little pirate from the past still had some oil and water." The ship was divided into 3 floors and had a basement. Shi-chen bid farewell to his parents, and the villagers also arrived. Shi-chen and Jin-moo boarded the boat together, watching the crowd gradually drift away. When they couldn't see Jin-moo, they said, "Captain, where are we going?" Shi-chen said, "Let's go to the flower country first." At the beginning, he was still very excited, but as time went on, he gradually felt bored and listless, lying on the bow of the boat. Meanwhile, Kinmu sat in a recliner with a book in his hand, looking gentle and elegant. Those who didn't know thought it was the young master of whose family who went out to sea for a trip. Just as Shi-chen was feeling bored, the system suddenly said, "If the host discovers a pirate ship in front of them, release the mission, go to sea for the first battle, and reward them with a lucky draw." When Shi-chen heard it, he suddenly became energized and stood up to see a ship ahead. He said to Jin-moo, "There's a situation." When I got closer, I saw a cigar hanging from my mouth, followed by a gang of gangsters. It turned out to be one of the Supernova's gang Godfathers, Carpenter Becky. When the 2 ships approached, Carpenter saw that there were only 2 people on board and said to the little brother behind him, "Kill them." Shi-chen heard Carpenter's words and said to Kinmu, "It seems that we have been underestimated, Kinmu." Jin-moo looked at the black-clothed people rushing towards him and said, "Leave these to me, their leader." After finishing speaking, he rushed up and in an instant, several young brothers who rushed over collapsed. Carpenter Becky saw several little brothers being solved instantly and immediately said to the little brothers beside him, "You all go up with me and kill him for me." The younger brothers around rushed forward and rushed towards Jin-moo. Jin-moo still smiled and said, "Why are you doing this?" After finishing speaking, he rushed towards the crowd, and the Heezy behind him burst out instantly. Those who rushed over were stunned when they saw the 6 Heezy protruding from behind Jin-moo. They felt a breath of death rushing towards them. But Jin-moo wouldn't let them go just because they stayed in place. Every wave of Heezy would take away several lives, resembling elves dancing on the lifeline. By the time they reacted, they had already lost their lives. Carpenter Becky saw that all his little brothers had died like this, and he had not yet taken them to the great voyage. In an instant, he was furious and rushed towards Jin-moo, but Jin-moo turned around and left directly. Seeing the other person ignore their anger and say, "You will pay the price for it." At the same time, Shi-chen approached him and said, "Your opponent is me." Carpenter looked at Shi-chen angrily and said, "It's all the same. You come down and it's him. I'll avenge my brothers." In an instant, a shell shot out of his body and hit the hour. Shi-chen drew his sword and split open the shell, and at the same time, his figure suddenly came behind Carpenter Becky, silently withdrawing his sword and muttering, "One blade flow," drew his sword and cut it. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. Encountering the Gangster Godfather. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Carpenter lowered his head and saw blood spurting out of the wound on his chest. He was about to say something, but he collapsed with unwillingness in his eyes. Looking at the fallen carpenter, there was no sense of guilt in his heart. After all, he was from a gang background and didn't know how many lives he had on hand. It seems that he has just gone out to sea, and his strength is much weaker than when he appeared in the anime. However, his intelligence is still good and he knows that something unexpected happened. If someone else didn't know he was a demon fruit ability person, they would have really been hit. At some point, two seagulls appeared in the sky above the two of them. These were news birds trained by the pirate world news king Morgans, specifically providing their own mobile intelligence. Afterwards, Kinmu and Shurchin moved the jewelry, money, and freshwater food from the carpenter ship to their own ship. After finishing their work, the system appeared and said, "Congratulations to the host for completing the task. Do you want to use a lottery ticket?" Shurchin said, "Use it." I saw the lottery wheel start to rotate and eventually stop on one of the squares. At this point, the system said, "Congratulations to the host for obtaining an upgrade card." Shurchin looked at the upgrade card in front of him and thought that his swordsmanship was almost breaking through to the great swordsman. This upgrade card came just in time, so he said, "Use it, upgrade my swordsmanship." In an instant, a sword belonging to the great swordsman actually erupted from within Shurchin's body. Shurchin drew his sword and a huge sword energy directly split the sea into a vacuum zone of several hundred meters, and the seawater could not be filled for a long time. Looking at the scene in front of me and the changes in my own strength, Shurchin thought to himself. I have finally stepped into the ranks of the strong, and my heart has become much more secure. Jinmu beside him saw that Shurchin had become stronger and said, "Congratulations, Captain. Your strength has improved a lot." Shurchin said, "Well, I will become stronger and protect what I want to protect." Afterwards, we moved forward towards the flower country, and after 2 more days, we finally arrived at the flower country. Seeing the huge port of the flower country, it is truly a bustling country with the 8 treasures navy. The outstanding armed aura of the 8 treasures navy, especially the armed aura of the current generation's leader Green Pepper, even had a brief confrontation with Kapu back then. Such strength was also a first-class expert in the second half of the Great Route, which created the prosperous scene of the flower country. This is the system ringing. Ding, please invite the host to play the green pepper of the defeated cone, and receive a summon and a lottery once. Shurchin and Jinmu parked the ship at the port and paid the parking fee. They first found a restaurant to eat and also inquired about the news of the Babao Navy. Shurchin and Jinmu had just sat down at the restaurant when a waiter came over and said, "Hello, 2 guests. May I ask what you want to eat?" Shurchin said, "Let's have a plate of grilled meat, 2 vegetable salads, and 2 cups of coffee." The waiter said, "Okay guest, please wait a moment." The waiter was about to leave when Shurchin stopped him and said, "Just a moment, I want to inquire about where the 8 treasures navy is. I have admired them for a long time and would like to meet them directly. Can you tell me?" The waiter heard that he was inquiring about the news of the 8 treasures water army and smiled, saying, "This guest, the 8 treasures water army is the guardian deity of our country. They usually train in a big mountain north of our city. People in our country know about this, but most people cannot enter there. Your wish may not be easy to fulfill." Shurchin smiled and said, "It's okay, thank you." "Here's your tip," I said as I handed out a few Bailey cards to the waiter. The waiter looked at Bailey in his hand, which was half a month's salary. He quickly said, "You really cost this customer too much. I can't take it." Shurchin said, "It's okay, didn't you give me the intelligence? Just treat it as money for the intelligence." The waiter saw that the time was not up and said, "Okay, I wish the 2 guests a pleasant meal. I'll go down first." After finishing their meal, Shurchin and Jinmu headed straight towards the north as the waiter had mentioned. In no time, the two of them arrived at the mountain, and the momentum they were exhaling was like a rainbow, enveloping the entire mountain. At the same time, Green Pepper, who was training, suddenly felt two mountain-like momentum rushing towards him. This was also felt by Old Kai and Abu, who were still training. They are all mature experts, but the soldiers under them don't feel like they are being targeted by ancient beasts in an instant. Some people are so scared that they can no longer stand up. Qingjiao saw the situation of his soldiers and said, "Don't panic, everyone. I'll go see what's going on." After finishing speaking, he turned around and ran towards the outside of the mountain, thinking to himself that this momentum was not something that ordinary strong people could unleash, and there were still two of them. One should be a great swordsman, while the other's momentum was like a fierce prison. If he couldn't handle it well today, he would be doomed. At the same time, Lao Kai and Abu also ran over. These two imposing forces they had only seen on the Great Voyage were comparable to them, and even stronger. They were afraid that Green Pepper might not be their opponent but also ran over. The three of them ran towards the foot of the mountain and saw Shi Chen and Jin Mu. At the same time, seeing the three Green Peppers come out also put away their momentum. Qingjiao looked at the two young men in front of her and carefully recalled them, realizing that she had never seen them before. She thought to herself, when did such young and powerful men appear on the sea, and she was not sure if she could take each of them, and she might even be killed. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. Battle with Green Peppers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qingjiao spoke up and said, "Is there anything wrong with the two kids finding it again?" Shi Chen looked at the three people with nervous expressions and said, "Don't misunderstand that I'm doing this to lure you out, and I just want to compete with the famous cone Green Pepper." The three Green Peppers breathed a sigh of relief when they heard that they were just here to compete in martial arts. Qingjiao said to the two, "Since it's just a martial arts competition, come with me." Shi Chen and Jin Mu followed Qingjiao to the opponent's training ground. The soldier saw that Green Pepper and his three companions had returned with two young men, and thought to himself that these were the two people who had just exuded their momentum. Lao Kai said to the soldier, "Yes, withdraw from the martial arts arena." Upon hearing Lao Kai's words, the soldiers all withdrew in parts and made way for an empty space for the two of them. Shi Chen and Qingjiao arrived at the center of the open space. Qingjiao just noticed the sword on Shi Chen's waist and said, "Your Excellency, let's take a move." Shi Chen didn't hesitate to draw his sword and immediately struck at Qingjiao with a slash belonging to the great sword hero. Upon seeing the opponent strike, Green Pepper immediately armed her hands with a domineering aura and directly resisted the strike. Shi Chen thought to himself. Undoubtedly, he was the one who could briefly confront Kapu, but with his strengthened physique and armed aura, he was able to withstand his own attack. Time no longer holds its hand, and with a single slash, it draws its sword and chops. The momentum that belonged to the great swordsman erupted from Shi Chen in an instant. The soldiers next to them saw that the momentum just now was actually from the young man who was fighting with Green Pepper. They all felt unbelievable, including Old Kai and Abu. Although it was their second time seeing them, they still felt unbelievable. The young man in front of them looked like he was only 16 or 17 years old. Qingjiao felt a great sense of crisis from the impact of the hour, and his armed colors instantly covered his head. When Shi Chen saw that Green Pepper actually used this move, he also became interested. Two people rushed towards each other at the same time, and when they met, a wave of air instantly spread towards the surroundings. The bodies of the soldiers around suddenly flew uncontrollably towards the back, some flying a few meters away. Lao Kai saw the situation and quickly said, "Move back 10 meters." Qingjiao felt a faint pain in her head as she looked at Shi Chen. The young man in front of her was really a demon. In an instant, she rushed over and used her armed and domineering aura to the extreme, while her domineering aura erupted. Lao Kai and Abu saw that their father was actually using a domineering aura, and it seemed that they were taking it seriously. On the side, Jinmu saw Qingjiao's serious expression and looked at Shichen with concern, thinking to himself. It should be okay. Although the opponent is strong, his own captain is also very strong. As Shichen looked at the serious green pepper, he murmured, tearing apart with a single blow. He saw a huge slash with an unstoppable force as if it was about to shatter everything that was blocking him. The old Kai and others beside them looked at the slashing in front of them, as if they were in the midst of a natural disaster, as if they were about to be torn apart in the next second. At the same time, the green pepper collided with this slash, and in an instant, the veins burst. I felt the power of this blow, as if I was about to be cut open by my eyes in the next second, and could only try to change the direction of the slash. In an instant, this knife was forcefully changed direction by the green pepper and flew towards the sky. The sky was completely cloudless, leaving only a blue sky. However, no one knew that this blow had changed the local climate for the next month, and it had always been cloudless. Shichen saw that his blow had been taken down. Qingjiao looked at the young man in front of her. The two of them fought together in an instant, and Lao Kai and others who were so fast couldn't see clearly, not including the little angel Jinmu I bought. The speed of the two became faster and faster, until they formed a shadow. Finally, green pepper's speed stopped, but the strength did increase. However, the speed of time was getting faster, and at the same time, the wounds on green pepper's body were slowly increasing. Although it was not fatal, it was also uncomfortable. Qingjiao looked at the situation and suddenly punched heavily, but unexpectedly paused for a moment. But it was in this moment that Qingjiao quickly distanced herself. Watching the young green pepper in front of me getting more and more shocked, although I temporarily repelled the opponent, I knew that I only felt that the opponent's combat experience was not much earlier, which allowed me to seize the opportunity to escape. Shichen felt that his breath had suddenly become chaotic in that moment, but it was fatal when he fought against the master. At the same time, Shichen also realized his shortcomings, so he said to Green Pepper, "We can't determine the winner in a short period of time, why don't we just strike it out with one blow?" Qingjiao said, "Okay." Because Qingjiao doesn't want to continue fighting against the opponent. If it continues like this, one side will definitely be exhausted and defeated, and it's not a life and death situation where the gains and losses outweigh the losses. I saw the scent of green peppers constantly surging, and I was also adjusting my state. Old Kai and others next to him watched as the two of them were finally about to decide the winner, but they looked at Shichen with confusion because they couldn't feel each other's breath. At the same time, Qingjiao was also puzzled, but he did not underestimate the time because he knew that belittling the enemy on the battlefield is belittling himself, which is very fatal. When the momentum of the green pepper reached its peak and was about to explode, I suddenly felt a hint of coolness flashing around my neck. I don't know when Chen had already arrived behind the green pepper and silently closed his sword, saying, "A blade flows with a mysterious breeze. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. New Partners. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qingjiao touched her neck and a shallow wound appeared with blood donation oozing out. She was shocked and didn't know how to express herself. And the old Kai and others who were watching the battle next to them didn't know what had happened to both of them. Qingjiao turned to Shichen and said, "Thank you very much for keeping your hand. I lost." Shichen said, "I have accepted. This is the system ringing. Congratulations to the host for defeating Cone Green Pepper, winning a summon and a lottery once." Old Kai and others on the side were shocked to see that their father had lost, and they didn't even know what had happened. They didn't know what to say. Qingjiao said, "Your move just now was really fast. I just felt a gentle breeze passing by, and I couldn't understand your figure at all. With just one move, you can already compete with the backup general. The reserve general can always replace the missing position of the general at any time, indicating the strength of this move. Upon hearing his father's words, Lao Kai and others were so surprised that they couldn't close their mouths. He was a substitute general, although not a true general, he was not comparable to ordinary experts. They were too clear about what this evaluation represented. They just don't know how many seagulls on the nearby trees have recorded everything, who cares about how many birds there are. After finishing, Green Pepper invited the two of them to have dinner together. Just as they had a fight and were also hungry, they went to a restaurant in the city to eat together and drank until midnight. During this period, Qingjiao said, "Your Excellency Shi Chen's strength has been able to establish a firm foothold in the second half of the Great Route, but you are too few people. Just recruit some people." Shi Chen said, "I only recruit capable people, and the essence of the soldiers is not the abundance." I thought to myself, if I can summon my subordinates, I usually don't need to summon them unless I encounter good ones. Qingjiao smiled and said, "Yes, Your Excellency is still young. Time comes slowly and not in a hurry." Later, our golden wood was unable to withstand the alcohol and collapsed first. The next morning, Chen, Jinmu, Qingjiao, and others bid farewell and set off. When he left the port, he said to the system, "Use summoning." A woman with an imperial sister's figure flickered in the magic circle next to her. When the light disappeared, she realized that it was actually the healing anime character Estes who took away a female lead in our episode. It can only be said that it was really cool. The host here, Estes, has the strength close to that of a naval general, and his dominance is also synchronized. Estes saw the hour and said, "Are you my future master?" Shi Chen looked at Estes and said, "Yes, but don't call me master. Just call me captain. We'll be partners from now on." After speaking, Chen smiled. As Estes looked at the smile, he suddenly felt a little deer bumping around his chest. He thought to himself, "Is this the feeling of love? It's truly my captain. This smile is so charming." Looking at Estes with a shy face, Shi Chen thought to himself, "What's wrong with her? Is it because she was just summoned and didn't adapt well? It shouldn't be." Jinmu didn't even feel uncomfortable at the time, so I thought too much about it. Shi Chen didn't mind. Estes said to the system, "Use a lottery." I saw the spinning wheel in front of me begin to rotate. Ding! Congratulations to the host for being so domineering and domineering. Shi Chen said, "Surprisingly, this is it. Let's use the system." Suddenly, Kinmu and Estes felt a powerful aura like a king erupt from Shi Chen, accompanied by dark golden lightning, giving them a sense of submission. But Jinmu is the one-eyed king, how could he easily succumb to this pressure? Beside him, Estes also burst out with three dominant colors, a dark golden dominant color, accompanied by an ice blue dominant color and a black-red dominant color, causing the sky to crack open. The three of them quickly put aside their dominant colors. Looking at the two of them at the moment, I didn't expect that my awakening of the domineering color and aura would inspire them to also awaken. However, thinking about how a one-eyed king and a queen could not have the domineering color and aura, it was an unexpected gain. On the other hand, Morgans saw the intelligence brought back and murmured, "There is such a powerful young man." The first one to defeat Karpenberg was just a small person, but the second one to defeat Cone Green Pepper was an old and strong player. Ha 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 ha, this is big news. The transition between the old and new eras, whether it is the old era or the peak, or the new era replacing the old era, is really exciting. It's really big news. The next day, Kinmu sat on the lounge chair as usual reading a book, while Estes was enjoying a wonderful time eating desserts and drinking juice. And our male protagonist, Shi Chen, was sitting by the boat fishing. This was a news bird flying down from the sky. Shi Chen took out Bailey and put it in the news bird's pocket, taking a newspaper to see what had happened recently. But when I saw the headline in the newspaper, it turned out to be the news of myself defeating the green pepper cone, and there were even photos. Quickly calling out to the two people who were enjoying it, he said, "Hey, you two, come and take a look. The photo of me fighting with green pepper has actually been published in the newspaper. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. Invitations from the Navy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jinmu put down his book, and Estes put down his dessert and came to Shurchen's side. He saw the newspaper headline. Kinmu said, "It seems that Captain, you are going to become famous." Estes smiled and agreed, "Yes, Captain." Shurchen looked at the newspaper happily and said, "Now the whole world can see us, and my parents must have seen it too. They will definitely be happy for me." Jinmu said, "Yes, uncle and aunt will definitely be happy to see it." Estes looked at Shurchen and thought to himself, "I haven't seen the captain's parents yet. I must see them in the future and leave a good impression, hee. At the same time, the Navy also saw Kapu and he looking at the newspaper in front of them in the office of the Warring States period. "Ha ha ha, the little ghost now is really amazing. He even defeated Green Pepper," Cap laughed. Looking at the photo in the Warring States period, Shurchen said, "This young man seems to be less than 18 years old and already has such strength. If only he could recruit a navy." He also saw the thoughts of the Warring States period and must have felt worried about the current navy's lack of support. He said, "Yes, let the navy in the West Sea contact the other party and see if they can recruit them." The fourth emperor of the New World looked at the newspaper in his hand and said with a white beard, "Wow, you really are a powerful little ghost. When he comes to the New World, let's see if he wants to be my son." Kai Duo looked at me and said, Too weak, too weak. When will someone kill me?" He said. I continued drinking without even considering the moment when I first set sail. The fourth empress looked at the newspaper and said, "Morgan still enjoys playing these tricks, but this little devil's ability to defeat Green Pepper shows that he still has some strength." Eating the dessert, he said, "Katakuri, when he comes to the New World alive, let's try recruiting him. If it doesn't work out, let's get married. We can definitely give birth to powerful offspring." Well. Katakuri said, "Yes, Mom." Red Hair looked at the newspaper in her hand and said, "Has the era really come? Are you ready, Luffy?" And Eagle Eye looked at the newspaper in his hand and said, "A swordsman with good strength, I hope to have the opportunity to spar." Shurchen's hometown parents looked at the newspaper in their hands and smiled happily. "It seems our son is doing well." This way, they felt much more at ease. The time on newspaper headlines has been seen all over the world. At the same time, our original protagonist Lu Fei looked at the newspaper handed over by Nami and said, "Saigao, this person is so powerful, but I will definitely be the strongest in the future. I am the man who wants to become the One Piece King." Sauron smiled and said, "His swordsmanship is very impressive. It seems that I need to double my training. I won't lose again." Nami leaned her forehead and looked at the two of them speechlessly, thinking to herself, "It's really heartbreaking for them to do it for themselves." At this time, the Navy in the West Sea received an order from the headquarters to try to recruit time. Our male lead and others were discussing where to go next. Shurchen studied a map for a while and said to the two of them, "We will go to Lebu Island to replenish supplies, and then we will set off on the Great Route directly. We won't get any exercise in the West Sea." The next day at noon, the three of them arrived at Lebu Island, which is a relatively large island with a large city and several surrounding small towns and many small fishing villages, as well as a naval base. Shortly after Chen landed on this island, the Navy knew about it. Colonel Slode, the highest commander of the base, immediately went to the place where the three of Shurchen had dinner, because he knew that Shurchen's strength was useless to anyone in the West Sea. He went alone to prevent accidents. If the other party took action and someone reported to the higher authorities, he might be able to resist for a while. The three of them were eating when Slode arrived. He opened the door and saw them walking straight over. Time ignored him. Slode said, "Your Excellency, on behalf of the Navy, I sincerely invite you to join the Navy and add a sense of justice to this world." Shi Chen looked up at the Navy in front of him and said, "You go, I won't join the Navy. I like adventure, and the Navy may not be suitable for me." Slode saw that the invitation had been rejected and said, "I'm sorry to trouble you. I'm sorry to bother you with your meal, goodbye." He didn't just feel like the other party wasn't interested in the Navy, and he was afraid that saying too much would displease the other party. It wouldn't be good to take action, as no one present could suppress the other party. This little interlude will pass in a moment. Slode returned to the base and replied to the Navy headquarters using a telephone worm, "Marshal, the other party has refused our invitation." Upon hearing this result, the warring states did not say anything more. "Okay, thank you, Colonel Slode." They hung up the phone directly. The crane next to him said, "It's okay as long as the other party doesn't take the risk of being a pirate and is safe." And Shi Chen and the three of them also finished their meal and supplies before leaving Libu Island. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. The Small Town at Night. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The three of them advanced toward Shuangzi Gorge, because it was the only entrance to the Great Route except for the Windless Zone, and it was also the fastest. Looking at the map, Shi Chen estimated that the next island would take 3 days to arrive. During these 3 days, he did not encounter any pirates, and the three of them leisurely did their own things every day, drinking coffee, reading books, and fishing. Finally, on the 3rd day, I arrived at the island where supplies were being provided and got off the ship. Looking at the island in broad daylight, there were no people on it, as if they were all sleeping at home. Shi Chen said, "The schedule in this place is really strange. It's surprising to sleep during the day." Jinmu said, "Let's go into the island and have a look. Maybe the customs and habits are really different from those outside." After walking for a long time, the three of them finally arrived at the center of the town and saw an open shop. They walked over and saw an old man sitting at the door, panting heavily with dark circles under his eyes. It seemed that he had not rested well at night. Shi Chen said, "Uncle, we need to buy some supplies." The uncle quickly stood up when he saw the rare guest and said, "Hello guest, my house is the only open shop on this island. Just let me know what you want." Shi Chen said, "We need some fresh water and food." Uncle Da said, "Okay, wait a moment for the customer." When the uncle brought out all the necessary supplies for the hour, he said, "It's all here." Shi Chen said, "Thank you, uncle. However, I would like to ask if you all sleep during the day and work at night here." Uncle's face changed when he saw Shi Chen asking like this, but he quickly recovered and waved his hand, saying, "Yes, this is a unique custom here. You have also finished buying things, hurry up and leave." Shi Chen and the three of them saw that the uncle didn't want to say anything, so they turned around and left with their belongings, waiting to move all the supplies onto the ship. Shi Chen said, "Let's stay tonight and see what the situation is." Jinmu said, "Okay." Estes also smiled slightly and said, "This secret is waiting for us, it's really exciting." This is the sound of the system coming from Shi Chen's ear. Ding! Congratulations to the host for triggering the mission. In the small town at night, completing the mission will earn you 2 lucky draws. The three of them waited on the boat until 6 p.m. when someone finally came out of their house one by one. They all walked towards a place with no expression on their faces. The three followed the crowd to a mountain and saw a person standing on a high platform roaring at the group of people, "You all hurry into the mine to dig gold for me. If I find anyone lazy, don't blame me for being ruthless. Let's go work for me as soon as possible." A group of people ran towards the gold mine in fear. When I saw this scene, it turned out like this, but why do I request to mine at night? Isn't daytime better? Estes said, we'll know if we defeat him. The three of them walked out directly, and the person saw the three strangers and said, who are you? But since you're here, please leave it for me to dig gold. After speaking, he rushed straight towards the three people. The uncle who sold things during the day recognized the three people as buying things at his own house during the day. Estes waved his hand and saw an ice cone piercing through the opponent's shoulder. The opponent saw that he was actually injured and looked at Estes in front of him, saying, you are better than me. In an instant, it turned into a 3-meter-tall owl and said, die for me. Looking at the person in front of me who has turned into an owl, it turns out to be a demon fruit ability person, or an owl who can't wonder if it's mining at night. Estes looked at the large owl in front of him and said, so it's a beast. The other person heard Estes say this and said angrily, you are the beast. I am the great king of the night. Go to hell, Eagle Strike. I saw the right person quickly spinning his body and charging towards Estes with his own beak. Estes looked at the clown-like acrobat in front of him and kicked him away, without even using his armed aura. This huge force directly broke the opponent's beak. The owl felt immense pain and saw that its broken beak had completely lost its sanity. It got up and charged towards Estes. Looking at the irrational owl in front of him, he said, is it really just a beast? Raising his hand and waving an ice blade instantly cut off the opponent's body. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the task and winning 2 lucky draws. Uncle and others saw that the woman in front of them had easily defeated the person who controlled them. They quickly ran over and said, thank you so much. We can finally return to a normal life. A group of people cheered and jumped up. Shi Chen said, Uncle, it's nothing. We're just doing what we can. Uncle said, no, you are the great benefactors of our town. Half a year ago, since this person came to our town and discovered a gold mine, they started squeezing us and forcing us to dig gold for him, and it had to be done at night. We have exhausted many people in the past 6 months. Tears fell as she spoke. Shi Chen looked at the crying uncle in front of him for a moment and didn't know what to do, so he quickly asked, Uncle, what's your name? Uncle noticed that he had lost his composure and quickly said, my name is Hank, and I am the mayor of this town. Shi Chen said, hello, Uncle Hank. My name is Shi Chen. These two are my friends, Kinmu and Estes. Hank bowed to the two and said, hello everyone, thank you very much for saving our town. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. Encountering a Princess by Chance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Estes said, it's a matter of convenience, and our captain also wants to know the reason. You don't need to thank him. Jinmu said, yes, the mayor and uncle are just curious. Of course, we are very happy to help you out of the crisis. Mayor Hank said, come with me, I want to thank you all well. Turning to the crowd behind him, he said, everyone, let's have a banquet tonight to thank the 3 benefactors. A group of people shouted, oh. Have a banquet. A group of people came to the largest restaurant in the town, and the mayor raised his glass and said, thank you to the 3 benefactors for helping us. I did 3 things casually. After speaking, they raised their glasses and became bored. The town residents present also raised their glasses and became bored. After that, the banquet officially began. That night, everyone was very happy, and the shackles on their bodies were finally lifted. Everyone was drunk, and the 3 of them also drank a lot. The next day at noon, everyone woke up and the 3 of them arrived at the port with the enthusiasm of the town residents. Shi Chen said, the system is starting a lottery. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a domineering upgrade card and obtaining the weapon, the Kuai Dao by Yi. When Shi Chen saw it, it turned out that the weapon was just right. His weapon was only crafted by a blacksmith in a small fishing village, and there was no substitute, so he might not be able to sustain it anymore. Shi Chen held Bai Yi and looked at the pitch-black blade and the golden blood groove line in his hand. He waved it a few times, feeling just right and easy. With a new weapon, Shi Chen put the old one in his bedroom. After all, this sword has been with him for several years. Upgrade your aura with a powerful upgrade card. When you see that your color aura has already made a breakthrough in gaining your mental power, this time upgrade your armed color aura and say to the system, use the powerful upgrade card to upgrade your armed color aura. Shi Chen felt that his armed aura was already able to cover his entire body and reach the level of being released. A few days later, I finally arrived at the entrance of the Great Route and rode up the waterfall to Shuangzi Gorge. I saw an old man wearing beach pants and watching him lie on a beach chair, enjoying the sun. The old man saw a ship passing by and just glanced at it, but it was no longer strange. Looking at the old man in front of me, this is the person on the pirate ship. Uncle, have you ever seen a goat-headed pirate ship pass by here? He asked. Uncle Kurokas said clearly, I haven't seen it before. What's wrong? Thinking about it, it seemed like I was one step ahead of them and said, thank you, uncle. Goodbye. When the time came for the ship to depart, Kurokas murmured, is this the child who defeated the green pepper of the cone? He is so energetic. I don't know if he would make such a choice. Speaking of Kurokas, it seems like he's recalling something. Roger, the era you have created may begin to climax. Shi Chen looked at the map in his hand and said, our next destination is Whiskey Mountain Peak. The next day, we arrived at Whiskey Peak and just got off the boat. A group of people warmly welcomed the three of them. Welcome, three distinguished guests, to our place. I am the mayor of this town, but we haven't seen anyone from outside for a long time. Surrounded by a group of people, they arrived at the tavern and held a banquet. The group drank until midnight when the drunken mayor stood up, following the crowd around him. The mayor smiled and said, a group of little ghosts dare to embark on a great voyage. This is the first lesson I have taught you, and also the last lesson in your life. Just as they finished speaking, the three of them stood up. Seeing Shi Chen and the three of them standing up, they were surprised and said, you guys are fine. This is a secret medicine that can bewitch elephants. Shi Chen said, we are not ordinary people. The mayor immediately said, kill them. Depending on the situation, the three of them, without any courtesy, immediately began the massacre. Knowing that their group had killed countless passers-by over the years, they drew their swords and slashed the mysterious wind with one blow. In an instant, countless sword energies shattered the person rushing towards him. Jinmu also waved his hand behind him, taking away several lives with each stroke. Countless ice creams appeared next to Estes and instantly pierced him. In no time, the three of them effortlessly slaughtered the entire town. The next day, the three of them decided to set off for Alabaston with some supplies. While fishing on the road, I saw a person floating over the sea and quickly jumped down to catch the other person. It was only then that I realized it was our Princess Weiwei, who seemed to be unconscious. He said, this person is the princess we are going to the country next. Let's take her down and wait for her to wake up before we talk. Time asked Estes to find a room for her to change clothes and wait for her to wake up before having a good conversation. In the afternoon, he woke up slightly, looked at the unfamiliar environment, and became nervous. He quickly got out of bed and walked out. The three people resting leisurely on the deck woke up slightly. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Challenge Legends. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shi Chen said, you woke up, Princess Weiwei. I heard the other person calling out their name and saying, who are you? Why do you know my identity? Shi Chen said, let's just consider ourselves adventurers. As for how we know about you, I have seen it in the newspaper before. After all, you are a princess of a country. Weiwei said, thank you for saving me. When you find a place, put me down. I have something else to do, and I will thank you later. Shi Chen saw that Wei Wei couldn't let them get involved, so he spoke up and said, Princess Wei Wei, I can help you solve the crisis in your country. Upon hearing that the other party actually knew about their country, they said, no need, you can find a place to put me down. My country is not something you can save. After speaking, they showed a sad expression. Shi Chen said, how do you know if you don't try? Isn't it crocodile, one of the 7 martial seas? I think I can still defeat him. Looking up slightly at Shi Chen, he seemed to say, your brain is not functioning properly. I'm afraid this person is not a fool. I suddenly felt that the man in front of me was very familiar, as if I had seen him somewhere before. I thought of what I had seen in the newspaper a few days ago. Surprised, he said, you are the boy who defeated the green pepper of the cone. Shi Chen said, you just realized it. The 3 of them looked at the princess in front of them and thought to themselves, this princess's brain is a bit slow. Looking at Shi Chen slightly, he thought to himself, great. If it were him, I might not be able to survive and defeat Clockdale to save my country. Please, please save my country. I am willing to give everything, as long as you can save my country, he said with a slight smile. At this point, the system rang, ding. Release the mission to save the country of Princess Wei Wei, Alabastion, defeat Clockdale, and reward the lottery twice. Shi Chen originally wanted to go find Clockdale and do it together. Shi Chen looked at Wei Wei in front of him and said, okay, I promise you. Thank you so much, Shi Chen agreed to him and said. Shi Chen said, I was supposed to go find Clockdale. It's really helpful for you. After that, we set off towards Alabastion. 2 days later, just after finishing dinner in the morning, Shi Chen came to the side of the boat to prepare for fishing. Suddenly, an animal fell from the sky, and Shi Chen quickly blocked it with a punch. Upon hearing the commotion, everyone came over and looked at the strange animal in front of them. They spoke slightly and said, what kind of animal is this? The body of an elephant with a lion and the tail of a tiger. Kinmu and Estes also looked at him with confusion. Shi Chen looked at the animal in front of him with a slight smile and said, it seems that we are lucky to have met the legendary pirate, the Golden Lion, Shi Ji. The system rang again, ding. Defeat the Golden Lion Shi Ji by publishing a mission, receive 2 summoning calls, and draw 2 prizes. Looking at the generous rewards, the injured Golden Lion can still give it a try. In the original work, the Golden Lion is too domineering to use and is still a great swordsman, making it a perfect sharpening stone for oneself. The 3 of them heard that since it was the Golden Lion, Shi Ji. Jinmu smiled slightly and said, that's some fun. Estes said, I shouldn't be so bored this time, with a slightly bloodthirsty smile. After hearing this, he panicked and said, that's the legendary pirate Golden Lion, Shi Ji. But there's a presence competing with the pirate King Roger. Aren't you looking for him? The 3 of them just smiled and didn't speak. Looking at the 3 of them holding their foreheads, they silently said, Dad, it seems like I can't go back and save our country. It's going to be a disaster now. Jinmu noticed a slight concern and said, it's okay. Even if the 3 of us can't fight, we can still escape. Looking at the 3 people in front of them slightly, they didn't believe what Jinmu said at all. After all, that was the Golden Lion. The 3 of them looked too young and had no persuasiveness at all. However, they had already boarded the pirate ship and could only accept their fate. Shi Chen said, Wei Wei, you can watch the boat below. The 3 of us will go and return. After speaking, Shi Chen used his psychic power to fly the 2 of them towards the sky, and finally saw a huge floating island through the clouds. It's hard to imagine that all of this is controlled by one person, but who makes this the Golden Lion Shi Ji? Even in terms of injury strength, it shouldn't be underestimated. The 3 of them had just arrived at the Golden Lion on the island and they spotted them. The person under them said, 3 little bugs have broken in. Go and clean them up. "Good captain," said Skaradu when Skaradu and his men arrived quickly in front of the three of them. They saw that since it was 3 children, they said, "I thought it was some kind of strong person. It turned out to be 3 little brats." After speaking, he rushed straight towards the 3 people. Estes said, "Leave this person to me." The 2 of them fought together in an instant. Skarito, who was following the Golden Lion, was not to be underestimated for his own strength. At least he had the strength of an elite general, but this time he encountered Estes, who had the strength close to that of a general, and was destined to fall. Estes directly used his ability to transform into a sword and raised his hand to accept the opponent's attack, saying, "Is your strength only like this?" Skaradu saw that the other party looked down on him and said, "I haven't exerted any force yet, little girl." He then punched Esther's face with a heavy punch. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. The Battle of the Great Swordsman. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Estes watched as the enemy in front of him thrust his sword towards their fist. Esther's ice sword broke off in just a few seconds, and Skarito smiled and said, "Little girl, do you know about the dominance of armed colors? No matter how hard your ice is, it cannot be compared to my fist." Estes pulled out another ice sword and said, "Is that it?" The ice sword turned black. Skarito saw that the other party could also arm themselves with color dominance and use ice-based abilities, but as far as he knew, only Navy General Qingji was a natural ice-based ability. Is this woman in front of him eating some kind of ice-based ability from the lower fruit superhero? So he said, "It seems you're not a beginner who doesn't know anything. My name is Skarito, please give me your name." "Estes," said Estes without a word of nonsense. He ran straight towards the opponent with a slash. At this moment, the Golden Lion, who was observing with a domineering aura, felt that the opponent's strength was not something that his subordinates could handle. He flew directly towards the direction of the time, and Indigo saw that since his captain had passed by, he had also followed him. Shi Chen and Jin Mu saw the flying Golden Lion. "Report your name, little devil," said Shi Ji, the Golden Lion on the side. Skarito saw his own captain coming and retreated directly to the side of the Golden Lion. Estes was not chasing after him and also retreated. Skaradu was about to say something, but the Golden Lion interrupted him with a raised hand. He said to Shi Chen, "Little devil, are you here for anything?" Shi Chen said, "I just want to take a look at the legendary pirate and try my own swordsmanship." The Golden Lion saw that since Shi Chen wanted to use himself as a sharpening stone, the little ghost now really didn't know the superiority of heaven and earth. So he said, "The little ghost has good courage and wisdom, but you picked the wrong opponent." Indigo charged straight towards the hour, and Estes intervened to block it. The two fought directly together. At this moment, Skarito also rushed over, and Kinmu made a direct attack with a Hito. Shi Chen looked at the Golden Lion and said, "We're left now, come on." He drew his sword and charged towards the morning. The Golden Lion raised his hand with a huge sword energy, and Shi Chen didn't dare to be careless. He waved his sword to block it, blocking the Golden Lion's sword energy. The Golden Lion saw that since the opponent had activated his sword energy, although it was only emitted casually, he was a renowned swordsman for many years. His swordsmanship was superb, and most swordsmen would die on the spot, which is not something that ordinary people can accept. So he became interested and said, "What's your name, little ghost? Your strength is good. Do you want to hang out with me?" Shi Chen said, "My name is Morozi Shi Chen, remember the person who defeated you. Draw your sword directly and tear it apart with a single blow." The Golden Lion saw the sword energy in front of him and felt the power of the opponent's great swordsman. He began to take it seriously and pulled out the cherry blossom 10 withered bitter wood, causing the lion to roll with great power. The two domineering sword energies collided in an instant, and the surrounding forest was instantly destroyed by the powerful sword energy. The two of them were killing each other at the same time, and at the moment of the confrontation, they could only see sword lights flickering one after another. The speed was too fast for ordinary people to see clearly. When fighting against the Golden Lion, he felt like he had finally faced the pressure of years, and at the same time, the Golden Lion felt that the little ghost in front of him was not inferior to him. The two of them looked at each other separately, ready to no longer hold their hands. Only to see two waves of domineering aura burst out at the same time, and the two of them immediately fought together again. Seize the opportunity at the right moment and let a gentle breeze flow. The Golden Lion only felt a gentle breeze blowing over and saw a silhouette, instantly stimulating its combat instincts and blocking the attack of time. Looking at Shi Chen in front of me, I thought to myself, where did this little monster come from? Fortunately, I have rich combat experience, otherwise I might have lost just now. Looking at the Golden Lion, Shi Chen thought to himself, it is truly the Golden Lion. Although his strength has declined due to the injury on his head, not everyone can handle it. The two of them exchanged a glance and instantly fought back together. The Golden Lion said, the little ghost has good strength. Should we consider it again? Together, the whole world belongs to us. Shi Chen looked at it and said, you underestimate the Navy and the world government too much, Golden Lion. I won't die with you. The Golden Lion said angrily upon hearing Shi Chen's words, little devil, what do you know? I am the Golden Lion. With all my years of scientific research and accumulation, I can definitely defeat the world government and Navy. After finishing speaking, the lion rushed towards the hour and roared in anger. Shi Chen dare not carelessly silently recite. One blade flowing mysterious storm slash. I saw the sword energy of the Golden Lion colliding with countless sword energies of the hour. The Golden Lion saw that his attack had been defeated and quickly drew out his sword to block the remaining sword energy. However, despite his rich combat experience, he was still injured due to the excessive sword energy. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.